Zora's thumb hovered over the delete button, but the message was already marked read. 3 words that were supposed to go to her best friend Kiara, meant as a joke about some actor in a K-drama, had just landed in her boss's inbox instead. Her actual boss. Kang Min-jun. The man whose home she cleaned. The man whose silences felt like threats. The man whose late-night visitors always left through the back entrance. I love you. Her phone buzzed. A reply. My office. Now. Not a question. Not a laugh. Not even confusion. Just 5 words that made her blood turn to ice. If you want to see what happens when Zora faces Min-jun, keep watching. Drop a comment with if you think she should run or if you think she's already trapped. Subscribe so you don't miss what he does next. Zora's hands shook as she stood outside Min-jun's office door. The hallway smelled like leather and something sharper. Gun oil, maybe. She'd been cleaning this penthouse for 6 months and had learned one rule. Never ask questions. Not about the locked rooms. Not about the bloodstains she'd once found on his bathroom tile. Not about why grown men called him Gangnam and bowed like he was royalty. She knocked. Enter. His voice was calm. That was worse than anger. Anger she could read. Calm meant calculation. The office was dark except for a single desk lamp. Min-jun sat behind a glass desk, fingers steepled, eyes fixed on her like she was a problem that needed solving. He was younger than she'd expected when she first met him, 32, maybe 33, but he carried himself like someone who'd buried his youth under layers of control. Black turtleneck. Sharp jaw. Hair pushed back like he'd been running his hands through it. Close the door. She did. The click of the lock felt final. Do you know what I do for a living, Zora? Her throat was dry. You import things. Import. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's diplomatic. I appreciate that. He leaned forward, and the lamplight caught the edge of a scar along his collarbone. But let's not pretend. You've worked here long enough. You've seen the men who come through. You've heard the conversations I don't bother hiding anymore. She said nothing. So let me ask you again. His tone sharpened. Why would someone in your position, someone smart enough to keep her head down for 6 months, send me a message like that? It was a mistake. The words tumbled out. I was texting my friend about a show, and A show. He stood, and suddenly the room felt smaller. He moved around the desk, each step deliberate. You texted your employer, a man you barely speak to, the words, I love you, because of a television program. Yes. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could see the muscle ticking in his jaw. Do you think I'm stupid, Zora? No. Then don't insult me with lazy lies. His eyes bored into hers. I've had people killed for less. Her breath caught. But you. He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle. You don't flinch when you find blood. You don't gossip to the other staff. You don't steal. You don't even look at me unless I speak first. He took 1 step closer. So either you're the smartest woman I've ever employed, or you're working for someone else. Which is it? I'm not. I don't work for anyone but you. Prove it. How? He pulled his phone from his pocket and held it up. On the screen was her message. You're going to say it again. To my face. And if you hesitate even a second, I'll know you're lying. Her pulse hammered. Say what? What you texted me. His voice dropped. Say you love me. Right now. Look me in the eyes and say it. This wasn't a test about feelings. This was about control. About whether she'd crumble or hold her ground. She lifted her chin. I love you. The silence stretched. Then he laughed, low and humorless. You're either fearless or insane. He turned away, heading back to his desk. Most people stutter. Beg. You just stared me down like I'm the one who made the mistake. You asked me to say it. I didn't ask. I commanded. He sat, fingers drumming on the desk. And you obeyed without breaking. That's interesting. Can I go now? No. He opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. You're staying. You're going to sit in that chair and explain to me why someone like you ends up cleaning houses in Gangnam when your resume says you have a degree in international business. Her stomach dropped. You ran a background check on me? I run background checks on everyone. He slid the folder across the desk. Duke University. Top 15% of your class. Internship offers from 3 Fortune 500 companies. Then nothing. You vanish for 2 years, reappear in Seoul, and take a job scrubbing toilets. He leaned back. What happened, Zora? She didn't answer. Let me guess. Family debt. Bad investment. Or maybe you ran from something. His smile was sharp. People don't take steps backward unless they're hiding. I needed a job that didn't require a visa sponsor. Lie number 2. He stood again, and this time when he approached, he didn't stop until he was close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke. You want to know what I think? She didn't, but he told her anyway. I think you came here looking for someone. Or running from them. And I think that text wasn't a mistake at all. He crouched down so they were eye level. I think you wanted my attention. And now you have it. Her chest tightened. That's not. Save it. He stood abruptly. You're going to dinner with me tonight. What? 8 o'clock. Wear something that doesn't look like a uniform. He walked to the door and opened it. And Zora? If you're smart, you'll show up. Because if you don't, I'll assume you have something to hide. And I don't tolerate secrets. The door closed behind him, leaving her alone in the dark office. Her hands were still shaking. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was something far more dangerous. Zora stood outside the restaurant at 7:58 p.m., wearing the only dress she owned that didn't scream, I clean for a living. Black, simple, long enough to be respectful but fitted enough that she didn't look like she was attending a funeral. Her reflection in the glass door showed someone who looked calm. She was anything but. A black sedan pulled up. The window rolled down. Min-jun's driver, a man named Juan who never smiled, gestured for her to get in. She slid into the back seat. Min-jun didn't look at her. He was on his phone, typing in rapid Korean. He wore a charcoal suit, no tie, top button undone. Casual for him. Lethally handsome for everyone else. You're 2 minutes early, he said without looking up. I respect punctuality. You didn't give me a choice. No, I didn't. He finally glanced at her, and something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. That dress. Where did you get it? A thrift shop in Itaewon. It fits you well. She didn't know how to respond to that, so she didn't. The car pulled away from the curb. They drove in silence for 10 minutes before she realized they weren't heading toward the main restaurant district. Where are we going? Somewhere private. Her pulse spiked. I thought you said dinner. I did. He pocketed his phone. But I don't conduct business in public. This is business. Everything is business, Zora. He turned to face her fully. You still haven't told me the truth. So tonight, I'm going to give you 2 options. You can tell me why you're really here, or you can leave Korea tomorrow morning. I'll even pay for the ticket. You're threatening me. I'm offering you clarity. His tone was calm, controlled. I don't trust people who lie badly. And you, Zora Malika Osei. Yes, I know your full name. You lie like someone who's had practice. That makes you either very dangerous or very desperate. The car stopped. They were in front of a hanok, a traditional Korean house, but modernized. Sleek lines. Paper windows glowing from within. A garden that probably cost more than her annual salary. Juan opened the door. Min-jun stepped out first, then offered his hand. She ignored it and got out on her own. His mouth twitched. Stubborn. Careful. I don't do careful. He led her inside. The interior was stunning. Minimalist furniture, low table, floor cushions. But what caught her attention was the man already seated at the table. He was older. 50s, maybe. Expensive suit. Cold eyes. Zora, this is Chairman Sung, Min-jun said smoothly. He oversees most of my operations in Seoul. Chairman Sung didn't stand. Didn't smile. Just stared at her like she was livestock. She's the one. Sung's Korean was clipped. Yes. Min-jun sat across from him. He gestured for Zora to sit beside him. She did, slowly. You didn't mention she was foreign, Sung continued in Korean. Does it matter? Min-jun replied, also in Korean. Zora understood every word. She'd spent 2 years in Seoul for a reason. Learning the language had been survival, not a hobby. But she didn't let on. It matters if she's a liability, Sung said. You bring a black woman to my table, dressed like that, and expect me to believe she's just your maid? Min-jun's expression didn't change. She's not your concern. Everything you do is my concern. Sung's gaze slid to Zora. Can she even understand us? Zora picked up her water glass and took a slow sip, keeping her face blank. She doesn't need to, Min-jun said. She's here because I want her here. Sung leaned forward. Then let me be clear. I don't care who you fuck, Min-jun. But if she's a spy, a cop, or anything that threatens our organization, I'll handle it myself. Zora's grip tightened on the glass. Min-jun smiled. Thin and dangerous. If she were any of those things, she'd already be dead. Sung grunted. Fine. But keep her on a leash. He stood and left without another word. The door closed. Silence. Then Min-jun turned to her. You understood every word of that, didn't you? Her stomach dropped. Your face didn't move, he continued. But your knuckles went white when he threatened you. And when I said you'd be dead, you stopped breathing for 2 full seconds. He leaned closer. So let's try this again, Zora. Who are you really? She set the glass down carefully. I already told you. You told me a version. I want the truth. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to trap. And before you lie again, know this. Chairman Sung wasn't wrong. I will kill you if you're a threat. But if you're honest with me right now, I might let you live. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She had 2 choices. Keep lying and hope he believed her, or tell him enough truth to buy time. She chose the knife's edge. I came to Seoul looking for my brother. His grip loosened slightly. Your brother. He disappeared 2 years ago. Last message I got from him said he was working for someone in Gangnam. Someone powerful. She met his eyes. Someone who could make people vanish. Min-jun released her wrist. And you thought that someone was me. I didn't know. But you fit the profile. So you became my maid. He laughed, sharp and incredulous. You infiltrated my home to investigate me. Yes. And the text was actually a mistake. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the garden. Your brother's name. Kofi Osei. Min-jun went very still. You know him, Zora said, standing. Don't you? He didn't answer. Don't you? She demanded louder. He turned. His face was unreadable. Yes. Her world tilted. Where is he? Min-jun's jaw tightened. That's not a question you want answered. Tell me. No. She moved toward him. You said honesty. I gave you honesty. Now you give me the same. Honesty. His voice dropped to something lethal. Fine. Your brother worked for me. He was smart. Efficient. I trusted him. He stepped closer. And then I found out he was stealing from me. Skimming profits. Selling information to a rival gang. Zora's breath stopped. So I did what I do to traitors. Min-jun's eyes were cold. I made him disappear. Zora's vision blurred. Her knees threatened to buckle, but she locked them. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of watching her crumble. You killed him. I didn't say that. Min-jun's voice was even, detached. I said I made him disappear. That's the same thing. Not in my world. He moved past her, back to the table, and poured himself a drink. Whiskey, neat. He didn't offer her one. Your brother made a choice. He knew the consequences. He was 24 years old. Her voice cracked despite herself. He was a kid. He was old enough to steal $100,000 from me. Min-jun took a slow sip. Old enough to know what happens when you betray a man like me. She wanted to scream. To lunge at him. To claw at his face until he showed something. Anything, other than that cold, controlled mask. But she didn't. Because beneath the grief, beneath the rage, a single thought cut through. He said, disappear. Not, killed. Where is he? Min-jun set his glass down. Why do you assume he's still alive? Because you're playing with me. She stepped forward. If he were dead, you'd have said it outright. You're cruel, but you're not a liar. You would have told me he was gone and enjoyed watching me break. His eyebrow lifted. You think you know me that well? I've cleaned your house for 6 months. I've seen the way you operate. You don't waste words. You don't soften blows. She crossed her arms. So tell me, is my brother alive? Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. Then, yes. Her breath left in a rush. But, Min-jun continued, his tone hardening, he's not the same person you remember. And if you go looking for him, you'll wish I had killed him. I don't care what he's become. I just need to see him. Why? Min-jun's gaze turned sharp. So you can save him? Play the hero? Drag him back to whatever comfortable American life you think is waiting. So I can know he's alive. And then what? You take him back to the States, and he tells everyone what he knows about me? About my operations. Min-jun stepped closer, and now there was heat beneath the ice. You think I'm going to hand you the one piece of leverage that could destroy me? I won't say anything. I'll sign whatever you want. You'll do exactly what I tell you to do. His voice cut like a blade. Because you don't have leverage here, Zora. I do. Your brother is alive because I allow it. And you're standing here because I haven't decided whether you're useful or expendable. Then what do you want from me? He studied her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Something calculating. 3 months. What? You stay in Seoul for 3 months. You continue working for me, not as a maid, as something else. Her stomach tightened. As what? My fiancé. The word hit like a punch. You're insane. I'm practical. He leaned against the table, arms crossed. Chairman Sung isn't the only one watching me. There are people in my organization who think I'm too young, too reckless. They want me to settle down. Prove I'm not just some hothead who'll get us all killed. So you want me to be your fake fiancé? Not fake. Convincing. His eyes held hers. You'll attend events with me. Smile. Play the role. And in return, after 3 months, I'll tell you where your brother is. I'll even arrange a meeting. Why me? Because you're perfect. He gestured at her. You're intelligent. Well-educated. You don't scare easily. And most importantly, you have no ties to this world. No one will suspect you're anything other than what you appear to be. A prop. A partner. He pushed off the table. You help me consolidate power, and I give you what you want. It's a fair trade. And if I say no? His smile was cold. Then you'll never see your brother again. And I'll make sure you're on a plane out of Korea by morning. Zora's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to walk away. But Kofi was alive. That changed everything. If I do this, she said slowly, I want proof. Proof that he's alive. A photo. A message. Something. Min-jun pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then handed it to her. On the screen was a photo. Kofi, thinner than she remembered, a scar above his eyebrow, but unmistakably him. He was standing in what looked like a warehouse, holding a newspaper with a date from 2 weeks ago. Tears burned her eyes. Satisfied. She nodded, unable to speak. Then we have a deal. He held out his hand. She stared at it. This was a deal with the devil. A man who'd ruined her brother. A man who'd just blackmailed her into playing house. But it was also the only path to Kofi. She took his hand. His grip was firm, warm. Good. We start tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? You move into my penthouse. We make the engagement public. He released her hand. And you learn very quickly how to lie like you love me. I already told you I loved you once. Under duress. Now you'll have to say it like you mean it. He stepped closer, so close she could feel the heat radiating off him. Think you can manage that, Zora? She met his gaze, refusing to back down. I've survived worse than you. Have you? His voice dropped, dangerous and soft. Because I don't think you understand what you just agreed to. This isn't a game. My enemies will test you. They'll try to break you. And if they find out this is fake, they'll use you to destroy me. Then I won't let them find out. He studied her, and for the first time, something like respect flickered in his eyes. You really are fearless. No, she said quietly. I'm just desperate. Good. He stepped back. Desperation makes people focused. And I need you focused. Hwan appeared in the doorway. The car is ready, Hyungnim. Min-jun nodded. He gestured for Zora to go first. As she walked past him, he leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. One more thing. If you try to run, if you betray me the way your brother did, I won't just make you disappear. I'll make sure Kofi pays the price too. Her blood turned to ice. Understood. She forced herself to nod. Good. Welcome to the family, fiancée. Zora woke in a room 3 times the size of her old apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's skyline. A closet full of clothes she didn't recognize. A bathroom with heated floors and a rainfall shower. She was no longer a maid. She was a prisoner with better accommodations. A knock at the door. Come in. A woman entered, mid-30s, sharply dressed, carrying a tablet. Miss Osei. I'm Ji-woo, Mr. Kang's assistant. I'll be helping you prepare for today's announcement. Announcement. The engagement press release goes live at noon. There's also a dinner tonight with some of Mr. Kang's associates. Ji-woo scrolled through her tablet. Hair and makeup will be here at 2. The stylist will fit you for tonight's gown at 3. Gown. Yes. Mr. Kang insists you look the part. Ji-woo's smile was polite but cold. He also asked me to remind you that your performance tonight will determine how convincing this arrangement appears. He sent you to threaten me. I don't threaten. I clarify. Ji-woo set a small box on the dresser. He also asked me to give you this. Zora opened it. Inside was a ring. Not a diamond, something darker. Black stone, surrounded by smaller white diamonds. Beautiful and unsettling. Black spinel, Ji-woo said. Mr. Kang chose it himself. He said it reminded him of you. Zora wasn't sure if that was a compliment or an insult. Put it on. You'll need to get used to wearing it. She slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. One more thing, Ji-woo said. Mr. Kong has a rule. While you're living here, you don't leave without his permission. You don't make calls without his knowledge. And you don't speak to anyone about the true nature of this arrangement. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. Ji-woo's tone sharpened. There are people who would kill to have access to Mr. Kong. People who would use you to hurt him. These rules keep you alive. How considerate. Ji-woo's expression didn't change. The stylist will be here in 4 hours. I suggest you rest. Tonight will be long. She left. Zora sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ring. 3 months, she told herself. Just 3 months. But deep down she knew, 3 months with a man like Min-jun might as well be a lifetime. That evening. The restaurant was exclusive. Private room. Low lighting. A table that sat 12. Zora wore a midnight blue gown that hugged every curve. Her hair was swept up, her makeup flawless. She looked like she belonged. She felt like an imposter. Min-jun sat beside her, his hand resting possessively on the back of her chair. He introduced her to his associates one by one, men in expensive suits, women with sharp eyes and sharper smiles. Chairman Sung was there too, watching her like a hawk. So, one of the men, Vice Chairman Park, said in English, his smile oily. How did you two meet? Zora opened her mouth, but Min-jun spoke first. She cleaned my house. The table went silent. Then Park laughed. You're joking. I'm not. Min-jun's tone was even. She was my maid. I fired her. Then I realized I couldn't stop thinking about her. So I asked her to dinner. Zora forced herself to smile. He's very persuasive. And you said yes? One of the women, Mrs. Choi, asked, skeptical. I said no 3 times, Zora replied smoothly. But he doesn't take no for an answer. Min-jun's hand slid to her shoulder, fingers brushing her collarbone. She's stubborn. I like that. But a maid. Chairman Sung's voice cut through. Surely you could have found someone more suitable. Suitable for what? Min-jun's tone turned cold. I didn't choose her for her pedigree. I chose her because she's the only woman I've met who doesn't flinch when I walk into a room. Sung's jaw tightened. And, Min-jun continued, his gaze sweeping the table, anyone who has a problem with my choice can take it up with me directly. I'm sure we can come to an understanding. The threat was clear. No one spoke. Dinner continued in tense silence. Zora picked at her food, hyper-aware of every eye on her. She played the role, smiling when Min-jun touched her, laughing at his rare jokes, leaning into him when he whispered in her ear. But beneath the surface, her mind raced. These people didn't trust her. Worse, they were looking for cracks. One wrong move, one slip, and they'd know the truth. After dinner, Min-jun led her to the car. Hwan held the door open. Once inside, Zora exhaled. You did well, Min-jun said. They hate me. They're afraid of you. There's a difference. He loosened his tie. Sung will test you. So will Park. But as long as you don't give them a reason to doubt, they'll fall in line. And if I do give them a reason? He didn't answer. They rode in silence until Zora couldn't take it anymore. Why did you really choose me? He glanced at her. I told you. You're convincing. No. There's more. She turned to face him. You could have picked anyone. Someone who actually wanted this. Someone who wouldn't fight you. Where's the fun in that? This isn't a game. Everything is a game, Zora. His eyes locked on hers. And I always win. The car pulled up to the penthouse. But before she could get out, Min-jun grabbed her wrist. Tomorrow morning, we're having breakfast with my mother. Zora's stomach dropped. Your mother. She insists on meeting you. And unlike my associates, she's not easy to fool. His grip tightened. So whatever mask you wore tonight, make it better. Because if she doesn't believe you love me, this whole arrangement falls apart. And then, his smile was sharp. Then you'll never see your brother again. Min-jun's mother lived in a traditional hanok on the outskirts of Seoul. It was beautiful, elegant, serene, and somehow more intimidating than the penthouse. Zora wore a cream-colored dress. Conservative. Respectful. Ji-woo had drilled her on proper etiquette. Bow at a 90-degree angle, speak only when spoken to, never interrupt. Relax, Min-jun said as they approached the entrance. She's not going to kill you. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. The door opened. Mrs. Kang was smaller than Zora expected. Early 60s, hair pulled into a neat bun, wearing a hanbok in soft lavender. But her eyes, sharp, calculating, were identical to her son's. "Iamianim," Min-jun said, bowing. She didn't return it. Her gaze slid to Zora. "So, this is her." Zora bowed deeply. "It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Kang." Mrs. Kang didn't respond. She turned and walked inside. Min-jun gestured for Zora to follow. They sat at a low table. Tea was already prepared. Mrs. Kang poured 3 cups in silence. Then she looked at Zora. "You're American." "Yes." "And black." "Yes." "And you were my son's maid." "Yes." Mrs. Kang's lips thinned. "This is what you bring me, Min-jun? A foreigner with no family, no connections, no respect for our traditions." "Iamianim. I'm speaking." Her voice was ice. She turned back to Zora. "Do you love my son?" Zora's heart slammed. This was the test. "Yes." "Why?" The question was a trap. Too much emotion, and Mrs. Kang would think she was lying. Too little, and she'd seem cold. Zora chose honesty. Partial honesty. "Because he sees me." Mrs. Kang's eyebrow lifted. "Elaborate." "Most people look at me and see what they expect. A foreigner, a worker, someone beneath them. Your son looked at me and saw someone worth his time." Zora met her gaze. "He's arrogant, controlling, and ruthless. But he's also the first person in 2 years who treated me like I mattered." Silence. Then Mrs. Kang laughed, short and bitter. "At least you're honest about his flaws." "I'd be a fool not to be. And yet you still want to marry him." "I want to be with him." Mrs. Kang studied her for a long moment. Then she turned to Min-jun. "Leave us." "Iamianim. Now." He hesitated, then stood and left the room. The moment the door closed, Mrs. Kang's expression shifted. The warmth vanished. "You're lying." Zora's blood went cold. "I don't know why," Mrs. Kang continued, "but you don't love him. Not the way a woman should love a man she's about to marry." "With all due respect." "Respect." Mrs. Kang's voice sharpened. "You want to talk about respect? You walk into my home, wearing that ring, and expect me to believe my son, who has never brought a woman home in his life, suddenly fell for his maid." Zora's throat tightened. "I know my son, Miss Osei. I know what he is, what he does. And I know he doesn't fall in love." Mrs. Kang leaned forward. "So tell me the truth. What hold does he have over you?" Zora's mind raced. Deny it, and Mrs. Kang would dig deeper. Admit it, and the whole arrangement could collapse. She chose the knife's edge again. "He has something I need." Mrs. Kang's eyes narrowed. "What?" "Information. About someone I care about. And in exchange, I play this role for 3 months." Mrs. Kang sat back, her expression unreadable. "So you're using each other?" "Yes." "At least you're honest." Mrs. Kang poured more tea. "But let me give you some advice, Miss Osei. My son is not a man you use. He's a man who destroys people who try." "I'm not trying to destroy him." "Not yet." Mrs. Kang's gaze was sharp. But when those 3 months are up, and you get what you want, what happens then? Do you think he'll just let you walk away? Zora didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Mrs. Kong stood. I'll tell him I approve. But not because I believe you love him. Because I think you're dangerous. And dangerous women either break my son or make him stronger. She moved toward the door, then paused. For your sake, I hope it's the latter. Min-jun was waiting outside. What did she say? She approves. He studied her. What did you tell her? The truth. His jaw tightened. All of it. Enough. Zora met his gaze. Your mother isn't stupid, Min-jun. She knows this is transactional. And she's fine with it. She thinks I'm dangerous. He laughed, low and genuinely amused. She's not wrong. They walked to the car in silence. But as Hwan opened the door, Min-jun stopped her. Tonight, he said quietly. There's a meeting. High level. I need you there. Why? Because Chairman Sung is making a move. And I need everyone to see that I'm stable. Grounded. His hand cupped her jaw, forcing her to look at him. I need them to believe you're my weakness. Because if they think I have one, they'll stop looking for the real ones. You want me to be bait. I want you to be an asset. His thumb brushed her cheek. Can you do that? She should say no. Should demand he let her walk away. But Kofi's face flashed in her mind. Yes. Good. He released her. Because tonight, everything changes. The meeting was in a private club. No windows. One exit. Armed men at every corner. Zora wore red this time. Min-jun's choice. So they remember you, he'd said. They certainly did. Every eye tracked her as she walked in, Min-jun's hand on her lower back. Chairman Sung sat at the head of the table, flanked by Vice Chairman Park and 2 men Zora didn't recognize. Ah, Sung said, smiling. The happy couple. Chairman, Min-jun replied evenly. Please. Sit. They did. I'll be direct, Sung said. There's been a problem. What kind of problem? The kind that involves missing shipments, leaked routes, and a dead courier. Sung's gaze slid to Zora. The kind that started around the time you brought her into your home. Zora's pulse spiked. Min-jun's expression didn't change. You're accusing my fiancé of being a leak. I'm stating facts. Sung leaned forward. 3 months ago, we had no issues. Now, we've lost 2 shipments and a dozen men. And the only new variable is her. Correlation isn't causation. It is when the evidence points one way. Sung slid a folder across the table. We traced the leak to an IP address. It originated from your penthouse. Min-jun opened the folder. His jaw tightened. Care to explain? Sung asked. This is fabricated. Is it? Sung's smile widened. Or is your pretty American fiancée not who she claims to be? Zora's hands clenched under the table. Min-jun closed the folder. If you're suggesting I've been compromised, say it clearly. I'm suggesting you've been distracted. And distraction in our line of work gets people killed. Sung stood. I'm calling for a vote. Either she goes, or you do. The room went silent. Vice Chairman Park shifted uncomfortably. The other men exchanged glances. You're making a mistake, Min-jun said, his voice low and dangerous. Am I? Sung crossed his arms. Then prove it. Prove she's not a threat. How? Simple. Sung's smile turned cruel. Let me interrogate her. If she's clean, she has nothing to hide. Zora's stomach dropped. Min-jun's hand found hers under the table. His grip was tight. A warning or reassurance, she couldn't tell. No, Min-jun said. Then you're protecting her. Which means you know she's guilty. I'm protecting what's mine. There's a difference. Not to me. Sung gestured, and two of his men stepped forward. Take her. Touch her and you're dead, Min-jun said, standing. Sung didn't flinch. You'd start a war over a woman? I'd end one. The tension in the room was suffocating. Then Zora stood. I'll do it. Min-jun's head snapped toward her. No. If it clears my name, I'll do it. Zora. It's fine. She squeezed his hand, then released it. She looked at Sung. Ask your questions. Sung's smile was victorious. Take her to the back room. The back room was small. Concrete walls. A single chair. A table with tools Zora didn't want to identify. Sung closed the door behind them. Sit. She did. He circled her slowly. You're either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Min-jun thinks you're special. But I think you're a cop. Or worse, a federal agent. He stopped in front of her. So let's skip the games. Who do you work for? No one. Wrong answer. He nodded to one of his men. The man stepped forward, holding a knife. Zora's breath quickened, but she didn't look away. Last chance, Sung said. The truth, or this gets ugly. I'm not a cop. I'm not an agent. I'm just someone trying to find her brother. Sung's eyes narrowed. Your brother. Kofi Osei. He worked for Min-jun 2 years ago. Recognition flickered across Sung's face. You know him, Zora said. I knew him. He was a thief. And Min-jun made him disappear. So you came here for revenge. I came here for answers. Sung studied her. Then he laughed. You're telling me you infiltrated Min-jun's life, played fiancée, all to find your brother? Yes. And the leak. The missing shipments. Not me. Then who? I don't know. Sung leaned in close. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to do your job and find the real leak instead of scapegoating me because I'm an easy target. His hand shot out and grabbed her throat. She gasped, clawing at his grip. You don't talk to me like that, he hissed. The door slammed open. Min-jun stood in the doorway, gun in hand. Let her go. Sung released her. Zora coughed, gasping for air. Min-jun stepped inside, the gun trained on Sung. I told you. Touch her, and you're dead. You'd shoot me over her? Try me. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Sung stepped back, hands raised. Fine. She's yours. But when this blows up in your face, don't say I didn't warn you. He left. Min-jun lowered the gun and crossed to Zora. Are you hurt? She shook her head, still catching her breath. He crouched in front of her, his hands cupping her face. I told you not to agree. I had to. No. You didn't. His voice was raw. You could have let me handle it. And start a war? I don't care about a war. His grip tightened. I care about. He stopped. Their eyes locked. And for the first time, Zora saw something in his gaze that terrified her more than Sung's threats. Something real. We need to go, he said abruptly, standing. Now. They left the club. Got in the car. Hwan drove in silence. Zora stared out the window, her throat still aching. There is a leak, Min-jun said quietly. She turned. And I know who it is. Her heart stopped. Sung. Min-jun's jaw was tight. He's been playing both sides. Using the missing shipments to turn my people against me. Using you as the scapegoat. How do you know? Because the IP address he showed me. It was traced back to a device I gave him 6 months ago. Min-jun's hands clenched. He's been planning this. And tonight was supposed to be the final move. Get rid of you, destabilize me, take control. So what do we do? He turned to her, and his expression was cold. Lethal. We finish this. 3 days later. The warehouse was on the edge of the city. Abandoned. Perfect for what Min-jun had planned. Chairman Sung arrived with 4 men. He walked in like he owned the place. He didn't see the ambush until it was too late. Min-jun's men surrounded him. Guns drawn. "What is this?" Sung demanded. Min-jun stepped out of the shadows. "Justice. You've lost your mind." "No. I've found my leverage." Min-jun nodded, and one of his men threw a folder at Sung's feet. "Bank records. Communications with the Beck family. Video evidence of you orchestrating the shipment thefts." Sung's face went white. "You wanted to take me down," Min-jun continued, his voice calm. "You wanted to use Zora as the scapegoat. But you made one mistake." "What?" "You underestimated her." Min-jun glanced at Zora, who stood beside him. "She's the one who found the connection. She's the one who traced your accounts. And she's the reason you're about to lose everything." Sung's gaze swung to Zora, hatred burning in his eyes. "You should have killed me when you had the chance," Zora said quietly. "This isn't over," Sung spat. "Yes," Min-jun said, raising his gun. "It is." The shot echoed through the warehouse. Sung crumpled to the ground. Silence. Then Min-jun turned to Zora. "It's done." She nodded, numb. "And now," he said, holstering his weapon, "I owe you a promise." The next morning, Min-jun led her to a safe house on the edge of the city. He knocked twice. The door opened. And there, standing in the doorway, thinner and scarred but unmistakably alive, was Kofi. Zora. She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. She just ran. And when her brother's arms wrapped around her, she finally let herself break. They talked for hours. Kofi explained everything, how he'd been caught stealing, how Min-jun had given him a choice, death or redemption. He'd chosen the latter. For 2 years, he'd been working undercover, feeding Min-jun information about rival gangs, helping him consolidate power. "I couldn't contact you," Kofi said, tears in his eyes. "I couldn't risk it. But I thought about you every day. I thought you were dead." "I know. I'm sorry." Min-jun stood in the doorway, watching them. When Zora finally pulled away from her brother, she turned to him. "Thank you." He nodded. "Our deal is complete. You're free to go. Both of you." Kofi looked between them. "Wait. You're not coming." "I have business to finish here," Min-jun said. He looked at Zora. "But your sister is free to leave. The engagement, the arrangement. It's over." Zora's chest tightened. This was what she'd wanted. Freedom. Her brother. A way out. So why did it feel like losing? "Zora." Kofi's voice was tentative. "Are you coming?" She looked at her brother. Then at Min-jun. And she realized she'd spent 3 months pretending to love a man who terrified her. But somewhere along the way, the pretending had stopped. "Give me a minute," she told Kofi. He nodded and stepped back inside. Zora walked over to Min-jun. "You kept your promise." "I always do." "And now? Now you take your brother home. You rebuild your life. You forget about me." His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed him. "What if I don't want to forget?" His jaw tightened. "Zora, what if I don't want to leave?" He stared at her, and for once the mask cracked. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying." She stepped closer. 3 months ago, you blackmailed me into this. You used me. Manipulated me. But you also protected me. Trusted me. And somewhere in all of that, you stopped being the man I thought you were. I'm still a monster. Maybe. But you're my monster. She reached up, her hand cupping his jaw. And I'm not walking away. You should. Too bad. She smiled. You don't take no for an answer, remember? For a moment, he just looked at her. Then he laughed. Soft and broken. You're insane. I learned from the best. He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. If you stay, there's no going back. This life, it's dangerous. Brutal. You'll always be looking over your shoulder. I know. And you're still choosing this? I'm choosing you. He kissed her then, fierce and desperate, like he was trying to memorize her. And when he pulled back, his eyes were wet. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She smiled. But you're stuck with me anyway. 6 months later, Zora stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the Seoul skyline light up as the sun set. The penthouse felt different now. Less like a prison. More like a home. Arms wrapped around her from behind. Min-jun rested his chin on her shoulder. Kofi called, he said. He's doing well. Starting a new job in the States. Good. He asked when you're visiting. Soon. She leaned back into him. But not yet. You miss him. I do. But I'm exactly where I need to be. He turned her around, his hands framing her face. Are you happy? She thought about it. About the life she'd built with a man the world called a monster. About the danger, the chaos, the moral gray areas she navigated daily. Yes, she said. And she meant it. Good. He kissed her forehead. Because you're stuck with me. For how long? His smile was slow, dangerous, and entirely hers. Forever. And for the first time in 2 years, Zora believed in forever. If you're still here, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. Thank you for watching.